Game number 3, number 15, Louisville at Notre Dame. This game will be mid-afternoon. Notre Dame a decent favorite, about a touchdown. First question is this: how healthy is Louisville? Okay. For those that haven't been paying attention, it's understandable if you haven't. It's okay. Louisville has kind of been able to kind of go through the motions without getting a ton of coverage, but they're good. I'm just telling you, they are excellent. It's just, I don't know how many people know that. Well, they're going to find out this week when they play against the Notre Dame team that I got a ton of respect for, but they've been banged up. They lost Jaden Thompson. They lost Saunders, who's going to miss the rest of the year. Those guys are both out after getting hurt against Georgia Tech last week. Quincy Riley, who's an All-American corner, questionable at the moment for the game against Notre Dame. Missed most of the second half on Saturday against Georgia Tech. And Brom right now is calling him a game-time decision. Maurice Turner, running back, is out several weeks with an ankle injury. South Alabama transfer Colin Lacey, he broke his collarbone during fall camp. He was back at practice last week, which is actually pretty quick. Pretty quick for him to be back out there. And Brom said he's likely a game-time decision as well, and that Lacey is improving, but we weren't sure whether or not he was going to be able to go against the Irish. So how healthy is Louisville? I mean, they've had a bunch of guys that have experienced some injuries already this year. Question number 2. How much better is the passing attack for Louisville with Tyler Shough? Now, Tyler Shough was the guy that Jeff Brom and his brother Brian Brom, they went and they looked at the portal, they scouted everybody, and they went after Tyler Shough. They clearly liked what they saw. They clearly feel like he's got a really high ceiling, and I agree. I remember watching Tyler Shough on the field, I think it was like 2019, and being really impressed watching him throw alongside Justin Herbert when he was the backup at Oregon. This is a guy with a lot of talent. Problem is, he has been a little bit banged up from time to time. He can make throws that Jack Plummer couldn't make last year, but he's missed some time. So he's been at Oregon, he's been at Texas Tech, and when he's been out there and not injured, he is excellent. All right, really solid. This is a guy who completed 31 of 50 passes for 436 yards and 2 touchdowns against just 1 interception against Oklahoma back in COVID year of 2020. Threw for 350 plus at UCLA. Like, he can do it against quality teams. It's just, can he do it this week against what I think is an elite secondary? He's got some good targets too. We talked already about Colin Lacey not being available, but Ja'Cory Brooks, the Alabama transfer, has been rock solid. Was a top 50 recruit, has had some bright spots in an Alabama uniform, but now he's the go-to guy in the passing game, and he'll be going against a secondary that is as good as you'll find in the entire sport. Question number 3. Can Notre Dame win in the trenches against Louisville's defensive line? Last year, this was a major mismatch in favor of Louisville. I mean, big time. They sacked Sam Hartman 5 times. They had about 1.5 yards per carry when you factor in the sacks as well. They had 28 rushing attempts, so it's not like they abandoned the run. I mean, Audric Estime was a guy that ran for over 1,300 yards last year. He averaged almost 6.5 yards a carry. It was by far his worst game. He had 10 carries for 20 yards, and his longest run of the day was 6 yards. Definitely his worst performance. His second worst performance against Ohio State, but he had triple the amount of yards against the Buckeyes than he did against the Cardinals. So not sure if Louisville's better on defense than it was last year, but I do think they're deeper. And Ashton Gelati, they're going to move him around a little bit, all right? The Irish have struggled at times on the offensive line, and it's kind of been a week-to-week thing. Like, who's going to play well this week, guys? Let's evaluate. So they're going to take Ashton Gelati. He's not going to line up just at defensive end. He might slide inside, line up over the center. He might line up over the guard. He might line up at linebacker level. It might be in an outside stance, like way off the edge. Like, he's going to bounce around, and he's kind of difficult to account for. So you need to be really mindful of the 6'3", 270-pound terror that usually lives on the edge of the defense. But he was a huge reason why they won 10 games last year, and he's also a guy that can take over the game. Right now, the Cardinals are pretty good, man, allowing just 269 yards of total offense a game. Granted, you look at kind of what they've played, Austin Peay, Jack State, Georgia Tech, they haven't been able to get a whole lot going on the ground. Just 2.5 yards a carry so far. And we know Georgia Tech is a pretty good group when it comes to running the football. So with Gelati and a deep, talented defensive front, they're going to be tough to move off the spot. And then question number 4, will quarterback run continue to power Notre Dame's offense? All right, they're 3 wins this year. Riley Leonard against A&M, 12 for 63. Against Purdue, 11 for 100. And against Miami, Ohio, 12 for 143. That's 102 rushing yards a game on 11.5 carries. All right, their one loss, that was against NIU. He had 11 carries for 16 yards. So if it's the best thing you do offensively, lean into it and complement those talented running backs. I think quarterback run will open some things off play action, and it should be beneficial for the Irish. Notre Dame is 10-2 against the spread against ranked teams since 2002. That's their best. That's the best mark in the FBS with a minimum of 5 games. And Louisville is 9-18 against the spread on the road since 2018. That's their third worst FBS over that span. I'm taking the Irish in this game. I think they protect the home field, and one of the few big matchups that they have this year. I think this has been a revenge game. I think it's been a circled game that they've talked about all off season, and I think they get that revenge on Saturday against the Cardinals.